Harlem, 1934, February. The kind of cold that doesn't just chill, it punishes. On the edge of the Harlem River sits a warehouse, abandoned for years. Windows broken, walls crumbling, the kind of place decent people avoid after dark. But tonight, it's occupied. Inside, 15 men in white robes huddle around a wooden table, their faces hidden beneath pointed hoods. Kerosene lanterns cast flickering shadows across maps spread before them. Maps of Harlem streets, churches circled in red ink, businesses marked with bold X's, residential blocks shaded in black like graves waiting to be filled. They're laughing. Deep, cruel laughter that echoes off brick walls. One man passes a whiskey bottle. Another checks his pistol. A third adjusts the wooden crosses leaning against the wall, fuel-soaked, ready for burning. St. Philip's church burns Friday night, the leader announces, his voice muffled behind white fabric. Saturday, we hit the shops on 125th Street. By Sunday morning, every colored family in Harlem will know their place. More laughter, more whiskey, more plans for terror drawn in red ink. They believe they're untouchable. They believe no one can stop them. They believe Harlem is theirs for the taking. They're wrong. Outside, barely visible in the falling snow, one man watches through a broken window. Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, 35 years old, sharp-dressed even in the freezing night, his black coat dusted with snowflakes. His eyes, hard as diamonds, cold as the February wind, study every movement inside. He counts the men, 15, counts the weapons on the table. 7 pistols, 3 rifles, 2 shotguns, counts the exits. 2 doors, 4 windows large enough for a man to escape through. He memorizes everything, because Bumpy Johnson doesn't make mistakes. Not when Harlem's survival depends on what happens next. Alone in the darkness, his breath visible in the frigid air, Bumpy makes his final calculations. Then he checks his watch. 10:47 p.m. 13 minutes until everything changes. For weeks, Harlem has been drowning in fear. It started small, a threatening letter here, graffiti there. Then it escalated. A cross burned on a church lawn, a store window smashed in the middle of the night, a family's home vandalized while they slept. The pattern was clear. The Ku Klux Klan, emboldened by silence and inaction, had brought their campaign of terror north. Not to the rural South where they operated openly, but to New York City itself. To Harlem. Families triple-locked their doors at night. Mothers kept children inside after dark. Windows stayed covered with blankets to hide the light, the life, the hope that once filled Harlem's homes. The streets that normally pulsed with jazz music and laughter had gone quiet, tense, fearful. Church congregations hired armed guards. Store owners slept with loaded shotguns beside their beds. But everyone knew that guards and guns only worked if you saw the threat coming. And the Klan struck like shadows, sudden, silent, devastating. The police, they didn't care. When Mrs. Washington called to report a burned cross 2 blocks from her boarding house, no officers came. When Reverend Clayton asked for protection for his church, he was told to handle it himself. The message was clear. Harlem was on its own. But Harlem wasn't completely alone. Because Harlem had Bumpy Johnson. To the outside world, Bumpy was a gangster, a criminal, a man who operated in the gray spaces between legal and illegal, who commanded respect through fear and violence. But to Harlem, Bumpy was something more. A protector, a guardian, a king without a crown who watched over his kingdom with fierce, unwavering loyalty. When Harlem hurt, Bumpy felt it. And Harlem was hurting now. Information flowed to Bumpy like water finding its level. Store owners whispered what they'd seen. Families shared what they'd heard. And Marcus, a trusted ally who could blend into white society in ways Bumpy never could. Brought the most valuable intelligence of all. Marcus arrived at Bumpy's apartment on a freezing afternoon, his face grave. "They're meeting tonight," he said, spreading papers across the kitchen table. 15 men. Old warehouse by the river. They're planning coordinated attacks across 3 neighborhoods. Bumpy stood by the window, looking out at Harlem's snow-covered streets. Armed? Always. Pistols, rifles, maybe shotguns. These aren't just thugs in bedsheets, Bumpy. They're organized, disciplined, dangerous. Bumpy turned from the window. Then they should know better than to come here. Marcus stared at him, understanding dawning in his eyes. "You're going alone, aren't you?" "Yes." "That's suicide. 15 against 1. That's the point." Marcus fell silent, recognizing the determination in Bumpy's voice. This wasn't about stopping a meeting. This was about sending a message. A message written in blood and fire that would echo through every Klan chapter in America. "Harlem needs to know these men bleed like anyone else," Bumpy said quietly. "And they need to know what happens when you bring terror to this neighborhood." The stakes couldn't be clearer. If Bumpy did nothing, churches would burn. Businesses would be destroyed. Families would be terrorized. And no one, not the police, not the mayor, not the government, would lift a finger to stop it. But if Bumpy acted, if he walked into that warehouse alone and survived, the Klan would learn that Harlem wasn't defenseless, that courage could defeat hatred, that one man willing to stand could protect thousands too afraid to fight. So Bumpy made his decision, not with words, but with action. He buttoned his coat, adjusted his gloves, and prepared to walk into hell. As night fell, Bumpy's associates gathered outside his apartment. Willie, his right-hand man, Jackson, his best enforcer, 3 others, all loyal, all deadly, all armed and ready. "We're with you," Willie said. "Just say the word." Bumpy shook his head. "Go home." "Bumpy, this isn't negotiable. I walk in alone, or it doesn't mean anything." Jackson stepped forward, frustration evident in his voice. "You walk in alone, you might not walk out at all." Bumpy met his eyes without flinching. "Then Harlem will know I died protecting it. But I won't die, because those men in that warehouse have never faced someone who refused to be afraid. They understood. They didn't like it, but they understood. This was about more than tactics or firepower. This was about legend, about showing Harlem and the world that one man with conviction could stand against 15 men with nothing but hatred. Bumpy walked past them into the night, leaving his associates standing in the snow, watching until he disappeared around a corner. He moved through Harlem's streets like a ghost, past shuttered storefronts, past apartment buildings where families huddled around radios, past empty playgrounds where children should have been laughing. He stopped at St. Philip's Church. Inside, Reverend Clayton was boarding up windows, preparing for an attack he knew was coming. The Reverend looked up as Bumpy entered. No words were needed. They'd known each other for years. The Reverend set down his hammer. "This ends tonight," Bumpy said simply. Reverend Clayton studied Bumpy's face, seeing the determination there, the cold resolve. "The Lord works in mysterious ways. Sometimes he sends angels." He paused. "Sometimes he sends you." Bumpy almost smiled. "I'm no angel, Reverend." "I know," Clayton replied. "That's why you might actually succeed." Bumpy continued his walk. The temperature dropped further. Snow fell harder. Each footstep echoed through empty streets like a heartbeat. Steady, inevitable, unstoppable. He didn't rush, didn't second guess, just walked with the certainty of a man who knew exactly what he was about to do and why it mattered more than his own life. The warehouse came into view through the swirling snow. Light seeped through cracks in the walls. Harsh laughter carried on the wind, the sound of men who believed themselves invincible. Bumpy stopped 50 feet away. He studied the building with the practiced eye of someone who understood architecture and violence equally well. He counted shadows moving inside. 15, just as Marcus had said. He noted the placement of windows, the structure of walls, the likely position of support beams. He checked his watch. 10:47 p.m. He adjusted something inside his coat, something that would make all the difference in the next 13 minutes. He took a deep breath, letting the cold air fill his lungs, sharpen his focus, prepare his body for what was coming. Then, Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson began walking toward the warehouse door. Each step carried the weight of Harlem's hopes. Each step moved him closer to violence. Each step wrote another line in a legend that would outlive everyone involved. At 10:52 p.m., Bumpy reached the door. He didn't hesitate, didn't knock, didn't announce himself. He simply pushed it open and stepped inside. The door swung wide. February wind rushed in, scattering maps and extinguishing one lantern. Flames danced. Shadows leaped, and 15 hooded faces turned toward the doorway. A black man stood in the frame, snow dusting his shoulders, face calm as still water, eyes like black fire, complete silence. Then someone laughed, nervous at first, uncertain. But others joined in, their confidence returning as they remembered there were 15 of them and only one of him. "What the hell is this?" one man shouted, standing so quickly his chair toppled backward. The Klan leader stepped forward, his voice dripping with contempt. "Boy, you walked into the wrong room." Bumpy's voice cut through the warehouse like a knife through silk. Calm, measured, almost conversational. "No, you held your meeting in the wrong city." The laughter died like candles in wind. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. 15 men in white robes stared at one man in a black coat. The moment stretched, taut as piano wire. Then 3 Klan members reached for guns on the table, and Bumpy Johnson moved. What happened next wasn't a fight. It was a masterclass in violence, taught by someone who understood that in confined spaces, numbers could become a disadvantage. That panic was as deadly as any weapon. That intelligence mattered more than strength. Bumpy's hand shot out, grabbing the nearest kerosene lantern. Oil and flame became weapons. He swung it in a wide arc, forcing the 3 armed men to stumble backward, separating them from their weapons. The first man lunged at Bumpy. Wrong choice. Bumpy sidestepped, grabbed the man's hood, and used his own momentum against him. The Klan member's skull met brick wall with a sickening crack. He dropped like a stone. The second man managed to grab a pistol. He fired wild, panicked. The bullet punched through a window, missing everyone, but the muzzle flash lit up the warehouse like lightning. In that brief illumination, Bumpy moved again. He grabbed the wooden cross leaning against the wall, the same cross they'd planned to burn in front of a Harlem church. Heavy wood, fuel-soaked, deadly. Bumpy swung it like a club. The second man's gun went flying. "Shoot him!" the Klan leader screamed. "Shoot him now!" But in the chaos, with lanterns knocked over, smoke beginning to fill the air, men shouting and stumbling, they couldn't get clear shots. They bumped into each other, fired at shadows, created their own confusion. Bumpy used the darkness like a weapon. He moved between them, forcing them into each other's line of fire. When one man fired, 2 others dove for cover. when 3 rushed him together. He angled their attack so they crashed into a support beam instead. A 4th man charged from Bumpy's blind side, almost got him. But Bumpy heard the footsteps, spun, and drove his elbow into the man's throat. The Klan member went down gasping, clutching his crushed windpipe. 5th and 6th men tried to flank him. Bumpy grabbed the 5th by his robe, yanked hard, and heard fabric tear and a body hit the ground. The 6th man got close enough to swing a knife. The blade caught Bumpy's coat, ripped through fabric. But Bumpy caught the man's wrist, twisted, heard bones snap. The 7th man had more sense than his companions. He ran for the back door. Smart. But Bumpy couldn't let them all escape. Not yet. He grabbed a piece of broken lumber and threw it with perfect accuracy. The wood struck the fleeing man in the back of the knees. He went down hard. 8 men down, 7 still standing. And the clock kept ticking. The remaining Klan members were terrified now. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. They were supposed to be the hunters, not the hunted. They were supposed to inspire fear, not feel it. But Bumpy Johnson was fear incarnate, moving through smoke and shadow, appearing where he shouldn't be, striking before they could react. Impossible to hit, impossible to escape, impossible to stop. The Klan leader fired his pistol. The bullet grazed Bumpy's shoulder. Blood soaked through his coat, dark and hot. But Bumpy didn't flinch, didn't slow, didn't even acknowledge the wound. He just kept coming. "Stay back!" The leader screamed, his voice cracking. "Stay the hell back!" Bumpy's voice remained perfectly calm. "You came to Harlem with crosses and gasoline. You plotted to burn churches, terrorize families, children sleeping in their beds." Another step forward through the smoke. "Did you honestly think there would be no response?" Another step. "Did you think we were defenseless?" 3 more Klan members broke, turned and ran for the back exit, robes tangling around their legs, hoods falling off to reveal faces twisted in terror. Bumpy let them go. They would carry the story. Fear needed witnesses. That left 4 men, the leader and 3 others, backs against the wall, weapons shaking in their hands. Bumpy picked up the wooden cross again. It was charred now, smoldering from the fire spreading across the maps on the table. He held it out to the Klan leader. "Take this," Bumpy said. "Show it to whoever you answer to. Tell them Harlem has a king, and he doesn't forgive, he doesn't forget. And he'll be waiting if you ever come back." The leader grabbed the cross with trembling hands. Then he ran. The 3 others followed, stumbling over each other in their panic to escape. Bumpy let them all go. He stood alone in the warehouse. 12 men lay on the floor around him, unconscious, injured, or worse. 3 had fled into the night. The message had been delivered, written in blood and smoke and terror. Bumpy looked at his watch. 11 p.m. 8 minutes since he'd walked through that door. He struck a match, let it burn for a moment, then dropped it on the table where the maps lay scattered. Fire caught immediately, spreading across paper, consuming the plans for terror that would never be executed. Flames climbed the walls. Smoke billowed toward the ceiling. At 11:01 p.m., Bumpy Johnson walked out of the warehouse. Snow was still falling. The night was still cold. But something had changed. Something fundamental and irreversible. Behind him, the warehouse burned. Orange light dancing across the white snow, smoke rising into the dark sky like a signal that could be seen for miles. Bumpy didn't look back. He just walked into the night, leaving legend in his wake. Dawn broke over Harlem cold and gray. Police cars surrounded the smoldering ruins of the warehouse. Officers stood in the snow, hands shoved in their pockets, watching bodies being carried out on stretchers. Some unconscious, some worse, all wearing white robes. A detective approached the lieutenant in charge. "What's the official story?" The lieutenant stared at the wreckage, his face carefully blank. "Gas leak, accidental explosion, equipment failure." "And the victims?" "Transients, homeless men seeking shelter." A pause. "No one important." No one important. The Ku Klux Klan's presence in New York City, their plans to terrorize Harlem, the warehouse meeting, all of it buried under lies and paperwork. The scandal was too great, too embarrassing for anyone in power to acknowledge. So they made it disappear. But in Harlem, the truth spread like wildfire. From street corner to kitchen table, from barbershop to church pew, the story traveled. It grew with each telling, details embellished, legend overtaking reality. But the core remained unchanged. Bumpy Johnson walked into a meeting of 15 armed Klan members, alone, and walked out alive while the warehouse burned behind him. The Klan members who escaped talked too. In bars and back rooms across the city, they whispered about the demon who appeared in that warehouse. About how one man destroyed them all. About how Harlem fought back. Word spread beyond New York, to Klan chapters in Philadelphia, Baltimore, Boston. They all heard the same message. Harlem isn't soft. Harlem isn't defenseless. Harlem belongs to someone who doesn't forgive. Within days, Klan activity in Harlem stopped completely. No more burned crosses, no more threatening letters, no more shadows plotting violence. They learned to fear the neighborhood the way they'd wanted the neighborhood to fear them. In Harlem itself, something shifted. Not overnight, not completely, but enough. Families unlocked their doors, children played in the streets again. The music returned. Jazz pouring from windows, laughter echoing off buildings, life resuming its natural rhythm. Not because the threat was gone forever. Everyone knew better than that. But because they knew someone was watching. Someone was protecting them. Someone who would walk alone into hell if that's what Harlem needed. Years passed, decades. The warehouse became rubble, then a parking lot, then something else entirely. The men who were there that night, those who survived, grew old and died, taking their first-hand accounts with them. But the story remained. Bumpy Johnson's name became synonymous with fearlessness, with protection, with the kind of courage that doesn't need an army behind it. Other criminals respected him, feared him, never crossed him, because they knew what he was capable of when pushed. He never spoke much about that night. When his associates asked for details, he simply said, "They believed they were invincible. I showed them they weren't." That was all the explanation he needed to give. Harlem transformed over the years. The Depression ended. Wars came and went. Demographics shifted. Buildings rose and fell. But through it all, one truth remained constant. Harlem wasn't a neighborhood to terrorize. It was a kingdom. And for a long time, Bumpy Johnson was its king. Not because he sought power, not because he craved control, but because he understood something fundamental about respect and fear, about courage and conviction, about what it meant to stand alone against impossible odds. That night in February 1934 taught a lesson that echoed through generations. 15 men in white robes learned that hatred isn't strength, that numbers don't guarantee victory, that one person willing to risk everything can change the course of history. They laughed when Bumpy Johnson walked in alone. 8 minutes later, they weren't laughing anymore. And Harlem never forgot.